This episode is brought to you by San Pellegrino. A meal isn't just about what's on your plate. It's about what you bring to the table. San Pellegrino believes the table is where the best of life happens. That's what makes gathering around it so rich and rewarding. And with their unique sparkling natural mineral water, San Pellegrino brings its best so you can bring yours.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome, my friends, to the Wednesday edition of Snerdley's Rush Hour. It is the fastest hour in American media. Buckle up. Lots to do, as always. Among the stories that we will talk about this afternoon, the big, beautiful bill and the CBO. Oh, goodness, the CBO. Carlos, I'm not trying to embarrass you. You have to know. I'm saying that I'm asking this question for a point. What is the CBO? That's it. That's all. That's cool. That's cool. TJ, what's the CBO? Don't look at Google. Don't AI it or whatever. You don't know. Okay. So most Americans, they've heard it in passing, and they see the news stories like you will see if you read every single mainstream outlet today. CBO says that the deficits are going to go up. The CBO. What's the CBO? The CBO is the Congressional Budget Office. So the CBO. And the CBO has been a bone of contention in politics as long as there has been partisan politics. Clinton cracked a joke at one of his State of the Unions, and he suckered Republicans into it. He mentioned the CBO. A bunch of Republicans groaned, and then he came back with some witty, pithy comeback line about, oh, yeah, well, they were right about this, they were right about that, blah, blah, blah. And that was whatever. He shook that bony little finger at Congress and cracked it. That same bony little finger that got a lot of work during the Monica Lewinsky days. Did I say something? I'm sorry. Well, he shook that bony little finger at America and told us he wasn't diddling the intern when he was diddling the intern.
I was wondering how that finger got worked. He was.
Anyway, that was a brief digression. I'm so sorry, my friends. These things trigger me. The political memories, they trigger you. So the CBO, and so he's been asked about, the administration has been asked about the CBO, saying that if we pass this big, beautiful bill, oh my goodness, the deficit's going to go up. We used to have a Senator Sasser from Tennessee. He used to call it the deficit. The deficit. It's going to go, the deficit. And it used to be that everybody used to worry about the deficit. Oh my goodness, the deficit's going up. Then came Obama, and they exploded the deficit more than you can imagine. The people that are complaining about it now in the mainstream press didn't care that the deficits were going up. Big deal. As long as the left was getting more money to do the things that the left did to America, no one cared how much debt we were in. I saw a story in the Washington Post today about the deficit and how Donald Trump's going to explode the deficit. And the first thing I said to myself, you know what? I'd be interested in reading this story about how the deficit is going to explode by a few $1 trillion after you same people do a story. One of you media outlets, somebody, the New York Times, the Washington Post, the LA Times even though people barely read that thing. Even in L.A. One of them, the Chicago Tribune, the Atlanta Urinal and Constipation. One of those newspapers, somebody, please do a story on how $4.7 trillion walked out of the United States Treasury and nobody can find it and the money isn't traceable. After you do the story on that and tell us where that $4.7 trillion went, then I might be interested in hearing what the Congressional Budget Office has to say about the deficit. Until then, I really don't. And guess what? I'm not alone. CNN, this guy, I'm telling you, pollster, Henry Enton, this guy's just for a poster on that outlet. I mean, this guy always has something interesting to say. Cut 3. This is Harry Enton talking about the tax cuts and the deficit. It's quick. Got to listen close.
Republican voters, they don't care. They don't care. I mean, look, cut taxes even if the deficit increases. You know, you go back 33 years ago, it was just 22% who said cut taxes even if the deficit increases. But the party of fiscal responsibility is no more. Now 74% of Republicans say cut taxes even if deficit increases. So if Donald Trump, more popular than Elon Musk, sticks his neck out, the Republican voters will absolutely be with him because they believe cut taxes even if deficit increases, quite different than the way they were in the early 1990s.
And a lot has changed since the 1990s, my friend. Now, part of this, and the reason he mentioned Elon Musk, Elon is going full against the bill. Elon has escalated his attacks on Trump's legislative package. He is now urging lawmakers to kill the bill. Kill the bill. And he's saying, and pretty much he's one of the people citing the deficits that are going to go up. Also, there is another story in the New York Times. Trying to sound like a Letitia James by adding after the end of the words. The New York Times has said that after muscling their bill through the House, some Republicans have regrets. Some Republicans are now regretting their vote. And they would vote no if it had to do it all over again, but they don't. It's in the Senate. When Republicans muscled their sweeping domestic policy bill through this House by a single vote, after an overnight debate, they breathed a sigh of relief, enjoyed a celebratory moment at sunrise, and then retreated to their districts for a week-long recess. That's recess, but Ebonic recess. Okay? One of those who regrets their vote, as it turns out, is MTG. Full transparency, I didn't know about this section Ms. Green posted on social media. She calls it a violation of states' rights. What is she talking about? Well, she had been unaware that the mega bill she voted for would block states from regulating artificial intelligence for a decade. MTG says she didn't know that was in there. Otherwise, she'd have voted no, niet. Mike Flood of Nebraska admitted during a town hall meeting that he didn't know that the bill would limit judges' power to hold people in contempt for violating court orders. He said he would not have voted for that measure. Well, what's happening here? What's happening here is the usual that happens in Washington, D.C., my friend. Doesn't matter which party's in charge. Doesn't matter who's running it. I kept thinking when I was in my naive days, when Republicans get in charge, they're going to correct all of the things that the Democrats did that ran roughshod over the American people. They're going to return to regular order. And people, please don't go to sleep. Ladies and gentlemen, when we start talking about this congressional stuff, he's already talking about the CBO. Now he's going to talk about regular order. Who cares? Regular order means simply that they were going to do things the right way. They were going to send bills kind of like what you learned in school. They were going to have the little Congress people write up the bills that considered little in the House compared to the big guys in the Senate. And then they'd go to committee, and then the committee would mark them up. And then after mark them up, the committee would argue about them and come up with a final product. And then it get voted on. And then it goes to the Senate. The Senate has their chance at it. Then it goes back, if necessary, to the House. And voila, the sausage is made, goes up to the White House. White House signs, the president signs, or vetoes or pocket vetoes a bill, and blah, blah, blah. It has never happened like that in years, especially with the budget. And I was under the impression that when the Republicans, back in my naive days, when Republicans get in and control the House, all the shenanigans are going to stop. These people are serious. They want to do things the right way. And if that's what any of you think, then you're wrong. None of it stops. In the case of the 1,037-page bill, the GOP is calling the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, the Republicans barely cobble enough votes to pass it, and blah, blah, blah. And in the end, Marjorie Taylor Greene tells the truth a little bit in this article. She says, it's hard to read over 1,000 pages when things keep changing up to the last minute before we voted on it. And that's the part that I'm saying doesn't change. This has not changed in years. They stuffed these big bills with the things that most people say we want. We want tax cuts. We Republicans want tax cuts, right? So, yeah, they stuffed the bill with some tax cuts in them. Liberals are all whiny. The tax cuts, the rich tax cuts for the rich. It's going to explode the deficit. The deficit is going to go up. And then Republicans like me and you, we sitting around, we watch, we say, okay, we got tax cuts. And we don't care what's in the rest of the 1,000 pages either, because we're not going to read it, because we don't see it. And even if we did see it, have you ever in your life tried to read a congressional bill? Have you ever, if you really want an exercise in pain and torture, this is what teachers ought to use in school to punish students. They ought to make them read congressional bills aloud. It is torturous. Unless you're a lawyer, you have no idea what half the SHI what is in there that you're reading, because this thing references that. This thing references something that happened 25 years ago. This thing references something that's in section B6 of the annex and something of some other bill that happened who knows when. It is ridiculous to try to read these bills. They are not in any language that any of us can understand. And if you're a lawyer, then maybe you can. Louis Gohmert, I love Louis Gohmert. I haven't talked to him in a while. My brother, he used to actually read the bills before they got voted on. He'd be up all night long reading these bills. But most people in Congress, frankly, and it is known, do not have the time to themselves sit down and read through these bills. And their staffs, they take on sections of the bill, and sections of the bill get written. But these things are massive. And this is the game that both parties have played. So, yes, things get snuck in. And Republicans in this respect are no different than Democrats. And the system of doing this sucks. They're supposed to have 72 hours to read a bill. Right. What Marjorie Taylor Greene said is right. Up until the last minute, they're shoving stuff in there. It's a joke the way that they do this. So I'm not surprised they're upset. Is my point. Am I saying don't vote? They shouldn't vote for the bill? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it's not all tickety-boo, folks, the way that things are being done in Congress. It never has been. James Golden, Snerdley, fastest hour in American media. Yeah, we've got more talk about the deficit when we get back, so just stay with us.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Oh, such a clutch pickup, Dave.
I was worried we'd bring back the same team.
I meant those blackout motorized shades.
Blinds.com made it crazy affordable to replace our old blinds.
Hard to install?
No, it's easy. I installed these and then got some for my mom, too. She talked to a design consultant for free and scheduled a professional measure and install.
Hall of Fame son.
They're the #1 online retailer of custom window coverings in the world.
Blinds.com is the GOAT.
The GOAT!
Save up to 50% with minimum purchase at Blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
That saxophone you're hearing? Raphael Ravenscroft, musician, composer, author. Born today. Happy birthday, Heavenly. He passed away in 2014. He played this sax riff here on this Baker Street. I love this album, love Jerry Rafferty. He was paid £27 50 shillings. And supposedly the check bounced. His solicitors kept it on the wall. This song earned Jerry Rafferty over £80,000 a year in royalties. And the poor guy that played the sax on it, 27 some odd pounds, and the check bounced. Okay, very quickly, we don't have time for this right now, but Caroline Leavitt also weighed in on the CBO stuff. We're going to hear about that. Now, here's the thing, folks. Donald Trump and the administration has been saying all this talk about the deficit is from the CBO, and they're not even calculating the tariffs. Well, they calculated the tariffs today. They released a report that in all this fear-mongering going on. You know what? The tariffs will reduce the deficits by $2.5 trillion over 10 years, almost the same amount that the tax cuts has. Donald Trump has been right about all of this. That little information came this afternoon that they finally did factor in the tariffs. And what Donald Trump has been saying about this economy and his plans on how he's going to do it now. So if the tax cuts are neutral with tariffs, what does that leave? The growth. And we are, as Princess Di has said many times, looking the next year, we are poised for explosive growth in this country. Keep it right here. We've got so much more. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Trump recently cut taxpayer-funded health care for illegal immigrants. What's your take on that?
It's just irresponsible.
I think that's wrong. What if I told you that that's actually Governor Walz who recently did that?
I saw that Governor Walz had to do some compromising.
No, I did hear that. That's a matter of the budget. I heard that he has to do that.
White people have never built their own houses, farmed their own farms, worked manual labor in the history of the United States. So when all the workers are deported and there's no one else here to fulfill that role because Americans, especially the ones that look like me, are not going to do manual labor for $5, $3, whatever. That's statistics and predictions of literally AI bots who are smarter than humans. It's not looking good for us. We as American citizens collectively have to put it in to this corrupt administration.
White people have never built a thing. They never built their own houses. They never... where did these... This generation of little young racist white people. Now, speaking of California, This today from the Los Angeles Times, the Trump administration sees no viable path forward to finish the high-speed rail project. It is moving, finally, to pull federal funding. $4 billion could go bye-bye within the next 37 days after the administration found no viable path. The 315-page compliance review released today by the Department of Transportation cites the budget shortfalls, missed deadlines, misleading projected ridership in this project that was supposed to connect San Francisco to Los Angeles via high-speed rail. Not any of the track has been laid. It was supposed to be finished in 2022. $14 billion has already been spent on this boondoggle, 82% by California voters who are extremely high taxed, 18% by the rest of us through your federal tax money. The Trump administration reportedly not going to seek repayment of the past funds, but they're saying, nope, we're going to stop this monstrosity. The budget has shot up over $100 billion more than what they said it was going to cost. They said it would cost $33 billion in 2008. They have already spent tens of billions of dollars that are not even projected in what it would really cost to make this thing happen. Now they say they're just going to limit construction to a 171-mile stretch between Central Valley because they can't get a high-speed line up from L.A. to San Francisco with the $100 billion, but they haven't laid track. This project was supposed to be finished. Somebody needs to investigate where every single dollar of this went. Who got rich off this fleece from taxpayers? They knew from the very beginning, by the way. I remember discussing this with Princess Diana. I don't know, years and years ago, we talked about this, had a long conversation about this. The fact that they knew that there would never be enough riders to make this viable when they actually approved it. They knew that it was never going to be profitable, and instead this has been one massive get-rich boondoggle. We call it a boondoggle, but some people got rich, very rich, on $17 billion that was spent. Now, you want to know why that happens? Let me give you another example. I found this one. We're going to hit some sound bites here. I found this today almost unbelievable. It goes almost 2 minutes and 30 seconds, folks, so be patient. But this is this liberal senator out of Rhode Island, Jack Reed. He's questioning Howard Lutnick, the Commerce Department. Just take a listen here at this conversation. Cut 5. Here you go.
And it's been reported in the press that you are insisting on personally reviewing every commerce contract over $100,000?
That is true.
Well, that seems to be something that is not particularly efficient, and that results in the 5,700 contracts just in NOAA. So, again, if you can't find reliable support to do those reviews, I think you're wasting your time, frankly.
So I am tasked with the responsibility of my department, and contracts over $100,000 should be reviewed by the secretary. Now, I may have more energy and more time, and if you drive by the Department of Commerce late at night, you're going to see our lights on because I'm going through it. I do it with my team. I do it with the people who run the bureaus, and I teach them how to analyze contracts, not to push forward what was done before. And I'll give you one quick example. They come to me with planes, hurricane hunters, and they said there were $672 million. I said, wow, how many planes do we get? We get two. 2 planes? Wow. Can I see the plane, please? Just show me a picture of the plane we're going to. And they show me this picture of a plane. You remember old planes? They had like mullions in the windscreen, And they show me that, 3 propellers on each side. And I said, my God, when was this plane new? They said, no, you're buying a new plane. I said, no, when was the first one? 1955.
Excuse me, Mr. Secretary.
These things have to stop.
You're talking about a $600 million acquisition. That's
Correct.
a lot more than a $100,000 contract to do something like cleaning in the buildings that you occupy.
Oh, we cancel huge numbers of absurd contracts for software nobody uses. I said, how many people use this software? 0. These are waste, these are fraud, or these are abuse, and it's my job.
Okay, the point is this, folks, and this goes on and on. The Democrat senator is complaining because the Secretary of Commerce is actually asking to review every contract in that agency that's over $100,000. He wants to see personally what it is. And this United States senator is giving him pushback on it. Why? Folks, the entire Democratic Party is built on, they have shoveled so much money into these nonprofits, so much money goes out the door and that shouldn't be going out the door. He is actually offended that the Secretary of the Commerce Department wants to know how the money is being spent. Well, that's a tremendous waste of time. We're looking at things over $100,000. Don't you have anything else to do? All right. Another hearing today, the Senate. Let's go through these real close. There was an exchange with Spartacus and with Ted Cruz. It ran 8 minutes. I can't play the whole thing, but I can't take it out of context either. I may have to wait till Saturday to see if we can play it, but it is pretty hysterical. And it's on the idea of these judges who had their homes protested, Supreme Court judges, and the Democrat response to it. But there were some other things that took place. Ted Cruz, number 6, and then Senator Eric Schmidt on how Democrats run hearings. We're going to play Ted Cruz first on the judicial warfare that's going on with the courts and Donald Trump. Here's Senator Cruz.
Since President Trump returned to office in January, there have been over 40 universal injunctions issued against the federal government. That's in 4 months. 35 of those 40 came from the same 5 judicial districts. Let's put this into context. In the first 150 years of the Republic, 0 nationwide injunctions were issued. 0. That's for 150 years. In the entirety of the 20th century, 27 nationwide injunctions were issued. That's over 100 years. Under Presidents Bush, Obama, and Biden combined, 32 nationwide injunctions. Under President Trump's first term, 4 years, 64 nationwide injunctions, and now in just 4 months, we're already over 40. In 4 months, the Trump administration has seen more nationwide injunctions than the entirety of the 20th century and more nationwide injunctions than Presidents George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Joe Biden combined. This is not normal. This is not justice. This is an orchestrated campaign of judicial obstruction. Joe Biden, when he was president, nominated to the bench radicals. I have said, only slightly tongue-in-cheek, that Joe Biden did something I used to think was impossible. He made me miss Barack Obama.
Whoa.
But by comparison, the Biden judicial nominees were far more extreme and radical than they were under Obama. They sought out radicals who would implement policymaking from the bench, and they are doing precisely that.
That's Ted Cruz. Now, Eric Schmidt, this is really quick. We got to listen fast. This from
in
Senator
March,
Schmidt.
Chief Justice Boasberg, right here in D.C., has found himself into 4 major Trump cases, a statistical impossibility. Boasberg took over the Alien Enemies Act and ordered planes to be turned around in the dead of night, despite not being the emergency judge on duty that night. It seems clear that as chief judge, he wants to be able to grab cases for himself. I've had firsthand experience with this non-random case assignment in our federal appellate court system. When I was Attorney General of Missouri, I often found myself litigating in the 8th Circuit, a circuit of unique makeup. Of the 11 judges in the circuit, 10 have been appointed by Republicans. Yet, the one Democrat appointee, Judge Jane Kelly, found herself hearing nearly every political sensitive case in the circuit. Time after time, case after case, miracle after miracle, for the Democrats, Judge Kelly would be there for nearly every politically sensitive case. This was not due to the good luck of Judge Kelly. The circuit clerk's office, which assigned cases to appellate panels, was filled with her former clerks and ideological compatriots. In practice, they set the nationwide policy by rigging case assignment.
So this is something that hopefully coming out of this hearing, they supposedly the Senate is going to be working on dealing with the way that these Democrat, liberals, activist judges find their way onto cases. We shall see. I have my doubts. This one, next, Senator Kennedy. I'm telling you, we got to go quick. Senator Kennedy today with Professor Kate Shaw. She teaches law at the University in Pennsylvania. And you know what? She's married to this MSNBC host guy. I forgot his name. It's not important. But anyway, this was that.
Professor, let me ask you this while I have you. On April 22nd, 2024, you said there are some members of the Supreme Court that are evil. Which justices were you talking about?
I'll take your word, Senator. I don't recall using that word, but
all right, here's what you said. You were talking about the majority opinion in Muldrow v. City of St. Louis. You said, quote, Justice Kagan, will she be able to control the opinion's future distortion by her evil colleagues? Probably not, end quote. Who were you talking about?
Sir, I'm very skeptical. If it's transcription, it was probably a transcription error. I do not think I said.
No, you said it.
You said it.
Why don't you own up to it? Which you call some of the members of the Supreme Court evil. Now, which ones do you think are evil?
I would have to refresh my recollection. I've been very critical of some members of the Supreme Court.
You made that statement, aren't you?
I'm
you're an officer
Senator, it doesn't sound like something that I would say.
You know what I'm embarrassed at? That you're teaching our kids.
I don't refer to Supreme Court justices as evil in the classroom,
on
sir.
On your podcast, April 22nd, 2024.
Okay, well,
big as Dallas. And you're an officer of the court, and you're here advising us to be respectful to federal judges, and you say they're evil members of the United States Supreme Court? Gag me with a spoon.
We got to take a quick break, because I want to squeeze in one more.
The problem in all.
He called her the problem. Yes, we got to take a break. Fastest hour in American media, folks. Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. We're doing just that. Don't go away.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Folks, my Hispanic, my Spanish, those of you Latino, whatever you want to call yourself, whatever we call, you're comfortable with. I have to advise you of something. Another Democrat has spoken up about why we need immigration. This is a progressive member of Congress. She comes from the state of Vermont. And this is what Democrats think of you. And just listen, please.
Labor, and of course, we have to come to a place in Congress where it is no longer a political issue, but we see it as an existential issue for the country. If we don't have avenues for people to come here legally to work or to build a home here, I'm going to be really crude right now. We're not going to have anybody around to wipe our asses because we don't have enough people.
Speaking of immigration, again, we need them to come here, because if we don't, we won't have anybody to wipe our asses. We won't have anybody to wipe our asses. That is progressive Congresswoman from the state of Vermont, Becca Ballant. We need immigrants in this country. Those of you here, we need you here so that one day you will be able to wipe the rest of our asses. You almost can't possibly conceive that this is the way that they think about you. But yes, they do. And it's not just Hispanics, it's all immigrants. Those of you immigrants from Africa, those of you immigrants from Asia, those of you immigrants from Europe, from wherever you are, this is what the Democrats think of you. You're here so that you can wipe our asses. And don't forget picking the fruit and the vegetables. That's it, my friends. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, families, loved ones. Love and gratitude for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?